The sun hung low over the small town of Greendale, casting long shadows across the dusty streets. People moved slowly, wiping sweat from their brows, accustomed to the warmth but not to the unusual sight that had just appeared in the market square. A figure stood at the edge of the crowd, tall and strangely thin, with shimmering green skin that glowed faintly in the late afternoon sun. His eyes were golden, bright, and intelligent, but there was something sharp and unsettling about the way he looked at the humans around him. "Buy a cow. Get a working alien woman for free," he shouted, his voice metallic and strange, echoing across the market. For a moment the town froze. Children stopped running and stared, their mouths wide open. Elderly men squinted, unsure if the heat had finally made them mad. Women whispered to each other, some laughing nervously, others shaking their heads in disbelief. A few braver souls stepped closer, curiosity outweighing caution. Beside the alien man stood the alien woman, silent, her golden eyes downcast, reflecting the sunlight like molten metal. Her name was Lyra, though she had not been asked to speak it aloud. She wore simple metallic clothing that covered most of her lithe body, and there was a small device around her wrist that blinked softly, keeping her tied to the alien farmer's commands. Her posture was stiff, unnatural, as if she had spent many years learning to appear obedient. But her eyes told a different story. They were filled with fear, confusion, and a deep longing for freedom that the humans around her could not yet understand. The townspeople began to murmur. "Did he really just say, a working alien woman?" someone whispered. "Is she, like a machine?" Another voice cracked, half laughing, half horrified. A few young men nudged each other, imagining the possibilities, while a mother quickly pulled her children close, shielding their eyes. Jacob, a farmer in his early 30s, stood at the back of the crowd, observing quietly. His hands were calloused from years of hard work, and his clothes were simple, patched from months of labor. But when he looked at Lyra, he felt a strange, piercing sadness. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a strange alien custom. This was slavery in its rawest form, disguised as commerce. Jacob took a step forward, his voice rising above the noise of the crowd. "Stop! You can't just sell someone like that." His words were firm, trembling only slightly with anger. The alien farmer laughed, a sound that was both sharp and metallic. "It's business. She works, she eats, she obeys. All included with the cow." The crowd gasped. Some backed away in fear, others leaned closer in morbid curiosity. But Jacob's eyes never left Lyra's. Lyra finally lifted her gaze, her golden eyes meeting his. For the first time that day, someone human looked at her. Not as property, not as a curiosity, but as a being who deserved respect. Her heart fluttered with a cautious hope, fragile but real. Jacob stepped closer. "I'll buy your cow," he said quietly, "but she comes with it as a free being, not a worker." The alien farmer froze, blinking in surprise. Negotiation like this was rare. Humans usually submitted or laughed or walked away, but Jacob stood tall, unwavering, his hands empty but his courage evident. The crowd grew silent, the tension hanging thick in the air. Children peeked from behind their parents' legs. Even the birds seemed to hush their songs. Lyra's chest rose and fell quickly. She had spent years doing as she was told, hiding any spark of rebellion, fearing punishment. But now in the gaze of this human who had stepped forward against the world, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Possibility. Freedom might be within reach. Jacob's jaw tightened. He did not fully understand the world of aliens, the markets, or the strange laws that might govern them, but he understood right from wrong. He understood courage, and most of all he understood that no one, human or alien, deserved to be treated like property. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow across the market. The alien farmer's words hung in the air, a challenge to everyone who heard them. But Jacob had made his choice, and Lyra for the first time dared to hope that her life could be more than obedience and fear. The first step had been taken, but neither of them knew what dangers lay ahead. Still, for that moment in the quiet understanding shared between human and alien, there was hope, and hope they both realized could be the most dangerous and the most beautiful force in the universe. The crowd in Greendale was buzzing like a hive of confused bees. Some people whispered to each other, pointing at the alien woman. Others laughed nervously, unsure if this was a joke or a warning. Children clung to their mothers, eyes wide with curiosity and fear. The air was thick with heat, dust, and tension. But in the middle of it all, Jacob stood calm, his eyes fixed on Lyra. He could feel her heartbeat, fast and fragile, echoing in his chest, though they were still strangers. Jacob took another step forward. "You cannot treat her like an object," he said, his voice steady, cutting through the chatter. The alien farmer laughed, a mechanical grating sound that made the hairs on Jacob's arms rise. "Object?" the alien sneered. "She is a worker. She earns. She obeys." "Everything is included in the price," the crowd murmured again, some unsure how to respond. They had never seen anyone challenge the alien farmer before. Usually humans avoided confrontation. They bargained politely, or left quietly, or stared in awe. But Jacob was different. He didn't flinch. He didn't bargain. He simply stared at Lyra and spoke the truth he knew in his bones. No being deserved to be bought or sold. Lyra's golden eyes flickered up. She hadn't spoken in years, not because she couldn't, but because speaking without permission was dangerous. Yet now, as she looked at Jacob, something stirred inside her. For the first time, she saw a human who did not laugh, sneer, or judge her as less. Instead, she felt seen. Something fragile and bright, a hope she had thought lost, began to grow. Jacob's heart ached when he looked at her. He thought about his own life. The long days in the fields, the struggle to feed his family, the nights spent worrying if he was doing enough. But even in his hard life, he had freedom. Freedom to make choices, to speak, to live without someone else controlling him. Lyra had none of that, and that injustice burned in him like fire. "I will buy your cow," Jacob said quietly yet firmly, "but she comes with it as a free being. She is not a worker. She is not property. Do you understand?" His words carried weight, not because of threats, but because of conviction. The alien farmer tilted his head, confusion flickering in his golden eyes. He had expected fear, compliance, maybe some bargaining, but never defiance. He studied Jacob carefully, as if measuring his worth. Then he laughed, but it was different now, uncertain, wavering. "You think you can tell me how to trade? You think you can change my rules?" Jacob shook his head. "No, but I can choose my own rules. I can choose what is right. And I will not let you harm her." The silence that followed was heavy, almost unbearable. The humans around them didn't know what to do. Some admired Jacob, while others feared for his life. Some whispered prayers, hoping that courage alone would be enough. Lyra's golden eyes, wide and glimmering, seemed to hold her entire story. Years of fear, obedience, and quiet suffering. And now, in Jacob's presence, there was a spark of trust. The alien farmer glared at her, then at Jacob. His voice was low and dangerous. "Do you even understand what you are doing? You cannot protect her. She belongs to me." Jacob stepped closer, not aggressive, but unwavering. "No, she belongs to herself. And I will make sure she stays free." For the first time, Lyra felt something strange and new. Hope mixed with fear, and the courage to imagine a life beyond being controlled. She took a small, careful step forward. Jacob noticed it and offered a reassuring smile. "It's okay. I'm here. I won't let them hurt you." The sun was dipping lower now, painting the town in shades of orange and gold. Shadows stretched across the square, but the light in Lyra's eyes was brighter than the sun itself. She realized something she had never felt before. Someone was willing to risk everything for her. And in that moment, Jacob understood something too. Courage was not just standing against danger. It was standing for someone else, even when the world seemed against you. The first stand had been made. The battle for freedom had begun, and though neither of them knew what lay ahead, The spark of hope had been lit, and it could not be ignored. The crowd in Greendale was buzzing like a hive of confused bees. Some people whispered to each other, pointing at the alien woman. Others laughed nervously, unsure if this was a joke or a warning. Children clung to their mothers, eyes wide with curiosity and fear. The air was thick with heat, dust, and tension. But in the middle of it all, Jacob stood calm, his eyes fixed on Lyra. He could feel her heartbeat, fast and fragile, echoing in his chest, though they were still strangers. Jacob took another step forward. "You cannot treat her like an object," he said, his voice steady, cutting through the chatter. The alien farmer laughed, a mechanical grating sound that made the hairs on Jacob's arms rise. "Object?" the alien sneered. "She is a worker. She earns. She obeys." "Everything is included in the price," the crowd murmured again, some unsure how to respond. They had never seen anyone challenge the alien farmer before. Usually humans avoided confrontation. They bargained politely, or left quietly, or stared in awe. But Jacob was different. He didn't flinch, he didn't bargain. He simply stared at Lyra and spoke the truth he knew in his bones. No being deserved to be bought or sold. Lyra's golden eyes flickered up. She hadn't spoken in years, not because she couldn't, but because speaking without permission was dangerous. Yet now, as she looked at Jacob, something stirred inside her. For the first time, she saw a human who did not laugh, sneer, or judge her as less. Instead, she felt seen. Something fragile and bright, a hope she had thought lost, began to grow. Jacob's heart ached when he looked at her. He thought about his own life, the long days in the fields, the struggle to feed his family, the nights spent worrying if he was doing enough. But even in his hard life, he had freedom. Freedom to make choices, to speak, to live without someone else controlling him. Lyra had none of that, and that injustice burned in him like fire. "I will buy your cow," Jacob said quietly, yet firmly, "but she comes with it as a free being. She is not a worker. She is not property. Do you understand?" His words carried weight, not because of threats, but because of conviction. The alien farmer tilted his head, confusion flickering in his golden eyes. He had expected fear, compliance, maybe some bargaining, but never defiance. He studied Jacob carefully, as if measuring his worth. Then he laughed, but it was different now, uncertain, wavering. "You think you can tell me how to trade?" "You think you can change my rules?" Jacob shook his head. "No, but I can choose my own rules. I can choose what is right, and I will not let you harm her." The silence that followed was heavy, almost unbearable. The humans around them didn't know what to do. Some admired Jacob, while others feared for his life. Some whispered prayers, hoping that courage alone would be enough. Lyra's golden eyes, wide and glimmering, seemed to hold her entire story. Years of fear, obedience, and quiet suffering. And now in Jacob's presence there was a spark of trust. The alien farmer glared at her, then at Jacob. His voice was low and dangerous. "Do you even understand what you are doing? You cannot protect her. She belongs to me." Jacob stepped closer, not aggressive, but unwavering. "No, she belongs to herself, and I will make sure she stays free." For the first time, Lyra felt something strange and new. Hope mixed with fear, and the courage to imagine a life beyond being controlled. She took a small, careful step forward. Jacob noticed it and offered a reassuring smile. "It's okay. I'm here. I won't let them hurt you." The sun was dipping lower now, painting the town in shades of orange and gold. Shadows stretched across the square, but the light in Lyra's eyes was brighter than the sun itself. She realized something she had never felt before. Someone was willing to risk everything for her. And in that moment, Jacob understood something too. Courage was not just standing against danger, it was standing for someone else, even when the world seemed against you. The first stand had been made. The battle for freedom had begun, and though neither of them knew what lay ahead, the spark of hope had been lit, and it could not be ignored. The first light of dawn painted the forest in soft shades of gold and green. Birds chirped nervously as if sensing the tension in the air. Jacob and Lyra moved carefully along the narrow path that led deeper into the woods. Their breaths were quiet but steady, hearts pounding from the night's journey. Each step brought them farther from the alien farmer's farm, but they both knew the danger was far from over. Behind them, a sharp metallic shout pierced the morning calm. "Return her. She is mine." The alien farmer's voice echoed through the trees, harsh and unforgiving. Jacob froze for a moment listening. Lyra's golden eyes widened, but she did not hesitate. She had learned to trust Jacob, and more importantly, she had learned to trust herself. "Stay close," Jacob whispered, gripping her hand firmly. His calloused fingers reassured her more than words ever could. Together they ran, jumping over roots, ducking under branches, and weaving through the dense undergrowth. The forest was unfamiliar to Lyra, but her alien instincts made her agile. She moved silently, almost floating, her long limbs carrying her swiftly over the uneven ground. The alien farmer was relentless. His metallic steps crashed against the forest floor, unnaturally fast, echoing off the trees. He was larger, stronger, and equipped with strange devices that glimmered in the sunlight. But Jacob had something the alien could never understand: determination and knowledge of his land. He led Lyra toward hidden paths and small streams, places only a human from Greendale would know. As they ran, Lyra's mind raced. She had spent her entire life following orders, never daring to make her own choices. But now every decision she made mattered. She ducked when a branch whipped her face. She helped Jacob over a fallen log, and she whispered encouragement when he stumbled. For the first time, she was not just surviving, she was living. After what felt like hours, they reached a small clearing beside a rushing stream. Jacob crouched, breathing heavily, and looked at Lyra. "We need to rest for a moment," he said. "We can't stop for long, but a short break will give us strength to keep going." Lyra sank to the ground, her golden eyes reflecting the sunlight and the water. I never thought I could do this," she admitted softly. Her voice was quiet but filled with emotion. "I never thought I could run for myself or make my own choices." Jacob smiled, tired but proud. "You're stronger than you know," he said. "You've been brave all your life, even when you didn't realize it. Now you're running not because someone told you to, but because you choose to. That makes all the difference." For a moment the forest was calm. The wind rustled the leaves, and the sound of the stream filled the silence. Lyra closed her eyes and let herself feel the moment. The warmth of sunlight, the coolness of water, the safety of being beside someone who truly cared. But the peace did not last long. In the distance, a shadow moved across the trees, fast and deliberate. The alien farmer had not given up. His mechanical devices glimmered like eyes in the forest, searching relentlessly. Jacob grabbed Lyra's hand again, his grip firm. "It's not over," he said. "But we can do this. We just have to stay ahead, stay smart, and trust each other." Lyra nodded, determination replacing fear in her golden eyes. She had always been told she was powerless, that obedience was her only path. But now, with Jacob beside her, she realized that courage was contagious, and that hope could be stronger than fear. Together they sprinted toward the edge of the forest, hearts pounding, lungs burning, but spirits soaring. The alien farmer's voice called after them, angry and desperate, but it could not touch the bond forming between human and alien. Step by step they were moving toward freedom, toward a life where choices were theirs and not dictated by fear or ownership. And in that morning light, as the forest stretched endlessly before them, Lyra understood something she had never known. Running was not just about escape, it was about reclaiming her life. And she would not stop. Not now. Not ever. After the first night of running, Jacob and Lyra found a hidden clearing deep in the forest. The air was cool, scented with damp earth and the faint sweetness of wildflowers. They had stopped for a brief rest, but the fear of being discovered by the alien farmer still lingered like a shadow over them. Jacob knelt by a small stream, cupping water in his hands and passing it to Lyra. She drank slowly, savoring every drop, feeling it wash away some of the exhaustion and fear that had clung to her since leaving the farm. For the first time in years, she could make a choice: when to drink, when to rest, when to breathe. That simple freedom felt astonishing. "You're doing well," Jacob said quietly, brushing a leaf from her hair. "You've been through so much, but you're still standing. Stronger than anyone I've ever met." Lyra looked at him, a flicker of a smile on her lips. I didn't know I could be strong," she admitted. "I thought my life was only work, only fear, but now I feel something I haven't felt in a long time." Her golden eyes glimmered with emotion. Hope. Jacob's heart tightened. He had fought many struggles on his farm, battled storms and faced hunger, but seeing someone truly enslaved finding courage, it stirred something deep inside him. "Hope is the first step," he said. "The next step is courage, and you have it, even if you don't realize it yet." For hours they moved cautiously through the forest. Jacob taught Lyra about the hidden paths, the edible plants, the small tricks humans used to survive. Lyra, in return, shared her knowledge of alien flora. Plants that glowed faintly, could heal cuts or purify water. They laughed softly when a tiny alien herb reacted strangely, puffing out a soft mist that made both of them sneeze. The laughter felt miraculous, a sound Lyra had almost forgotten existed in her life. As evening fell, they settled near a small hill, the sky painted in pink and purple streaks. Lyra watched the stars slowly appear one by one. "In my world," she said quietly, "we rarely see the stars. I thought I would never touch the sky again, never feel free." Jacob sat beside her, looking up as well. "You can feel it now," he said. "And not just the sky, you can feel life. And one day you can make it better for yourself and others." A silence fell, but it was not uncomfortable. It was filled with understanding, with the quiet bond growing between them. For Lyra, it was a revelation. Humans could care deeply, could act bravely for someone else's sake. And for Jacob, it was equally profound. Sometimes courage was not just about facing the world alone, but about standing together with someone who needed you as much as you needed them. The night grew colder, and they huddled together for warmth. Lyra rested her head on Jacob's shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. It was ordinary yet extraordinary. She had spent her life in cold artificial spaces, surrounded by machines that monitored her every move. Now she was alive, breathing the forest air and protected by someone who saw her as a person, not a tool. In the quiet darkness, Jacob whispered, "Tomorrow we keep moving. The farmer won't stop looking, but we'll stay ahead. Together." Lyra nodded, feeling a fierce determination growing inside her. "Together," she repeated softly, a promise to herself and to him. She was learning that freedom was not just running away. It was also the courage to trust, to feel, and to hope. As they drifted into a light sleep beneath the canopy of stars, the bond between human and alien grew stronger, built from shared struggle, courage, and the first flickers of friendship. In that small clearing, surrounded by the forest and the unknown, Lyra realized that for the first time in her life, she was not alone. And Jacob understood something too. Sometimes, the most heroic act is simply believing in someone else, helping them believe in themselves. Together they were no longer just a human and an alien. They were partners, allies, and perhaps in time something even deeper. The forest was quiet that morning, but the tension hung thick in the air. Jacob and Lyra had traveled for days, moving silently through hidden paths, avoiding roads and villages. Their muscles ached, their feet were sore, and the fear of being caught never fully left them. Yet they moved with purpose side by side, hearts connected by trust and determination. Suddenly, a sharp, metallic sound rang through the trees. Lyra's head snapped up, golden eyes wide with fear.
"He's here," she whispered.
Jacob grabbed her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. They had known this moment might come, but knowing it and facing it were two very different things. Through the trees, the alien farmer emerged, his metallic body glinting in the sunlight. His eyes burned with fury, a predator who had lost control. "Return her," he bellowed, his voice echoing through the forest. "She is mine." Jacob stepped forward unafraid. His hands were empty, his posture calm but unwavering. "No," he said simply, his voice carrying over the forest. "She is not yours. She is free, and I will not let you take her." Lyra stood beside him, her golden eyes shining with determination. She no longer looked like the timid, obedient being who had stood in the market square days ago. She was tall, proud, and unyielding. For the first time, she understood the strength within herself, the courage that had been growing since she ran with Jacob through the forest. The alien farmer advanced, his steps deliberate and menacing. But Jacob did not flinch. He had faced storms, hunger, and fear in his life, but never something like this. Yet in the face of danger he understood one truth. Courage was not about strength or size, it was about doing what was right. "Do you even understand what freedom is?" Jacob shouted, stepping closer to Lyra. "She deserves to choose her life, not be sold like a cow." "You have no right." The alien farmer hesitated for the first time. His eyes flicked to Lyra, and in that moment, he saw her not as property, not as a worker, but as someone strong, someone alive, someone unafraid, and that sight more than any words shook him. Lyra's voice rang out, steady and clear. "I am not yours. I am myself, and I choose to be free." The alien farmer's glare faltered, his mechanical hands clenching in frustration. From the edge of the clearing, townspeople who had been secretly following Jacob and Lyra emerged, shouting their support. Humans and even a few sympathetic aliens joined together, voices rising in a chorus of defiance. "She is free," they cried. "Let her go." The alien farmer's fury burned hotter, but he realized he was outnumbered, surrounded by courage he could not crush with machines or force. Slowly he stepped back, then turned, retreating into the shadows, defeated but alive. Jacob exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. He turned to Lyra, whose golden eyes glimmered with tears. Not from fear, but from the overwhelming rush of freedom. "It's over," he whispered, though both knew that freedom was not just about surviving a chase. It was about living boldly, every day. Lyra shook her head, laughing softly through tears. "No, it's just beginning," she said. "I've been given something I never imagined. Life I can choose, and courage to protect it." Jacob smiled, exhausted but proud. "You've had courage all along," he said. "I only helped you see it." Together they walked back through the forest, not running, not hiding. They were free, but more than that, they were alive. The bond between them had grown unbreakable, forged in danger, trust, and shared hope. Lyra learned that freedom was not just escape. It was the right to choose, to feel, to hope, and to live. And Jacob learned that true courage was not about fighting alone, it was about standing for someone else, giving them the chance to shine brighter than they ever thought possible. As the forest faded behind them, they looked toward the horizon, hearts steady and spirits unbroken. The world was vast, dangerous, and unknown, but together they would face it, fearless and free. The sun rose over Greendale like a promise, casting golden light across the fields and forest. Jacob and Lyra walked side by side, their steps slow but steady. The chase was over, the alien farmer defeated, and yet neither of them felt the need to rush. For the first time in years, Lyra could breathe without fear, move without constraint, and see the world with her own eyes. She glanced at Jacob, her golden eyes reflecting the morning light. "I never imagined life could feel like this," she whispered. "I never thought I would wake up and just be free." Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from the overwhelming flood of emotion that had been locked inside her for so long. Jacob smiled gently, brushing a stray leaf from her shoulder. "You deserve this," he said. "You fought for it, risked everything, and never gave up. Freedom is yours, Lyra, because you chose it, and because you are stronger than anyone imagined." Lyra's chest swelled with pride, a feeling that had been foreign to her for years. She had spent a lifetime in obedience, serving the alien farmer without question. Now she realized that true strength came not from following orders but from standing for herself, from protecting her own life, from choosing her path. And for the first time, she felt the power of choice in every heartbeat. Jacob led her to his farm on the edge of the town, a small, humble place where the soil smelled rich and alive. The fields stretched wide, the wind rippling the crops, and the animals moved freely, unaware of the danger that had passed them by. Lyra knelt for a moment, letting her hands brush the earth. It was ordinary, simple, yet extraordinary. This was life. Real, messy, beautiful life, and she was part of it. Over the following days, she began to learn more about human life, helping Jacob with his farm, feeding the animals, tending the crops. At first, she was hesitant, unsure of herself. But Jacob's patience and encouragement never faltered. He guided her gently, teaching her not just survival skills, but trust, cooperation, and the quiet joys of simple work. At night, they would sit together under the stars, talking softly about worlds beyond the forest, about dreams and about the future. Lyra shared stories of her home planet, of skies that glimmered in colors humans could not imagine, of cities built in harmony with nature. Jacob listened with wonder, learning from her as she learned from him. The bond between them deepened, not just as protector and protected, but as friends, allies, and perhaps even something more. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lyra looked at Jacob with a smile that was all her own. "I was afraid," she admitted. "Afraid that I would never be free, that I would never belong anywhere. But now I feel like I have a home, and it's because of you." Jacob's voice was soft, steady. "No, Lyra, you have it because of you. I only helped you see it. You are brave, strong, and capable. That's why you belong." The alien farmer was gone, the town slowly returning to normal, and yet something profound had changed. Humans in Greendale began to whisper stories of the alien woman who had chosen freedom, of the farmer who had stood against oppression. Courage had spread, not as fear but as hope. A reminder that one person could make a difference, that right could overcome wrong. Lyra stood at the edge of the field one morning, looking at the horizon. The wind lifted her hair, the sun warmed her skin, and for the first time she felt unbound by fear, unshackled by obedience. She was free, truly free. Jacob stepped beside her, quiet and steady. "The world is wide," he said. "Danger still exists, but together we can face it." Lyra nodded, her golden eyes shining. "Yes," she said, "together. And now I will live, not just survive, but truly live." And with that they walked forward into the rising sun, side by side, hearts filled with courage, spirits lifted by hope, ready to embrace whatever the future might hold. Freedom was theirs, friendship was theirs, and for the first time, life felt like it had no limits. The forest, the town, the sky, all bore witness to a simple truth. Bravery, compassion, and trust could bridge worlds, and even in the darkest moments, hope could light the path to a better tomorrow.